The sound of jackhammers and cars honking and someone somewhere screaming as though for help woke me. I groaned into a foul-smelling pillow. I didn't recognize the shape of the room. The walls were the wrong color. The bed was cold, like I had just been placed there. This was not my apartment. Someone was in the next room over, banging pots and running the faucet in the sink. As I lived alone, this was a nauseous surprise. I collapsed forward, like I was folded by a kick to the gut. All my breath left me. "Hello?" I immediately regretted shouting, covering my mouth in delayed retraction. The person in the other room did not cease their banging and splashing. I slid out of the sheets, careful not to change a single wrinkle of fabric. I was already dressed, shoes and all, and I did not find this strange. With my breath held, I tiptoed out of the room and peered around the corner. I looked at the man just long enough, heavy-set, bald head, sweat-stained undershirt, a perfectly hidden face, to realize it was a stranger. He washed dishes by hand in a narrow hallway of a kitchen, whistling a song to himself. I cleared my throat and he did not turn. "What are you doing?" I screamed internally. "What if he sees you?" It never occurred to me I belonged in this place or that I knew this man. The fear of being discovered bent me in half again, and I couldn't breathe. Bleary-eyed, I followed the wall with my hands, gasping for air until I found the door. Outside, the noise was louder. I couldn't see any crews working on the streets, no diggers or drills or jackhammers or hard hats. I stumbled down a sunny residential city street, and there were trees potted into the sidewalk every other stoop, children in backpacks with parents by the bus stop, 3 old men with coffee and cigarettes outside the bodega. But all I heard was people shouting, and hammers banging, and saws and streets crunching into pebbles, and pipes bursting, and beneath it all, quieter than my teeth grinding, a radio playing a tune from an open window. I couldn't bear the sound. I didn't wait for the light to change and crossed the street right in front of a barreling cherry red minivan. It skidded to a stop, veering to avoid a collision, but the driver did not honk, did not move or shout or raise a fist, a tenebrous shadow calm in their near brush with manslaughter. I reached the other side of the street and ran inside a storefront just opened for the day. The door chimed as I entered. It was a music store, the kind my parents took me to as a kid when I spent a clumsy year in marching band. Brass horns and narrow tubes gleamed behind the counter, the square room divided into thirds by sheet music and racks, rotating displays of nylon strings, guitar picks, shakers, and slides. People talked mutely in the practice rooms, and a wispy-haired, leathery Greek man yawned over a catalog by the register. "Talk to me," I pleaded with my eyes. Normally, I hated being bothered while I shopped, but now I craved the familiarity. The clear roles for people to play, shopkeeper and customer. I stood in front of the register, hands on the glass, but he leafed his palsied hands through the thin sheets of catalog like Bible pages. "Excuse me?" I said, startled to find my voice so weak. Can you help me?" The elderly man looked up and spread his lips thin, but it wasn't quite a smile. Then he went back to his catalog. "Sir?" In the practice room, the 2 voices settled, and the lesson began. A whisper of piccolo started playing a song I was beginning to recognize. "Sir, please, I could use some help," I said, leaning over the glass so our faces were inches apart. He looked up for a second, but now he was annoyed. Please? Sir, please!" He kept his eyes down, face leather folded in rage. The door chimed its playground melody again, and a woman entered with her son. The shopkeeper creased his eyes in a grin at once. "Oh, Mrs. Kimjoy! Oh, I hope you're not here for those oboe reeds yet." "Oh, no," she groaned. "The state finals are this weekend." "Well, let me see what we have here." "Excuse me," I interrupted with a stomp of foot. Jesus, I felt like my mother. "I was here first." I didn't need anything, but it was the principal. The 3 of them looked uneasy, trying to ignore me. "Oh, let me see what we have. Maybe there's a 2.5 hiding back." "Hello? Talk to me!" I was screaming now, but they continued their exchange stubbornly. Now the student's piccolo joined the instructors, and the melody twisted wires inside me. Burning sickness climbed the hidden inches of my tongue. I was on my feet, walking backwards until I hit one of the rotating displays. It made a hell of a racket, but still they talked. God damn it, I seethed. What would it take? With both hands, I tore the stubby pillar down and it crashed into the linoleum, plastic cracking and metal clanging. The man left the counter to pick it up, but still he would not address me. He raised it with difficulty a few inches, and I shoved it from his hands. He bent to retrieve it as though it had slipped. "What is wrong with you?" I shouted at the Greek idiot. Still the music played, and I missed the jackhammers and men shouting, and I wanted to scream myself. I slammed the shop door open and stomped down the sidewalk, though I didn't know where I went. The school bus was approaching the stop, and parents were running with children to make it in time. The sidewalk became suddenly frantic. Mothers and fathers brushed by me, and I oddly delighted in their slams of shoulders, their messenger bags hitting my thighs, the elbows making room for each child's oversized skull. I felt like I may never touch a human again, grateful for their busy violence. The children boarded the bus, and the parents all left to run their next errand, arrive late for work. I fell to the sidewalk. Passers-by stepped over my legs, skirted around me, or crossed the street. I curled into the corner, worried people would think I'm homeless. I felt a sudden pity for the people I ignored on the street, but overcame this with righteous fury. I was not, nor would I ever be, one of those people. "I'm dressed well," I declared to anyone looking. "I know you see me. Look at this. Look at this!" I demanded to a shrouded Muslim woman walking by. "This here is $80, I said, shaking my pashmina. I clapped the heels of my boots. $200. And this is $75. $40. This was on sale, but it was $120. Did you hear? $120 fucking dollars! Do you hear me?" No one did. It was then I saw Jarrett Salvatore crossing the street catty-corner to me. Jarrett and I went to school together. We ate lunch together every day. I thought he moved to Denver. I didn't care what he was doing back. I was just overjoyed to see a familiar face. "Jarrett!" I shouted as I climbed to my feet. He was in a hurry, focused on a goal. "Jarrett, wait! It's me!" He looked just as I remembered him. It had been 4 years since college, but he still had the same orange-striped jacket, his signature. He was a block ahead, and I was running to catch up, repeating his name like a prayer. Jarrett Salvatore, Jarrett Salvatore, thank God for Jarrett Salvatore. I couldn't say I recognized the city. Nothing explicit about the streets, faces, nationalities, and stores was out of place, but nothing was familiar. It surprised me then when Jarrett turned the corner onto my street. I had never taken this route to Quincy Street before. My only explanation was that the whole block had somehow been forklifted out and plopped in a new location. I caught up to my college friend as he walked up the steps to my building. "Jarrett!" I croaked, and this time he finally heard me. He smiled. "Coming in?" Jarrett opened the door. Who had buzzed him in? He didn't have a key. Though it was my building, I felt like the guest, he the host. Jarrett led the way up the stairs, and I followed behind. The faded wallpaper of the stairwell was my building's wallpaper. The handrail creaking and bumping under my sliding palm was my building's handrail. But when Jarrett stopped outside 2R, my number, and opened my door, my apartment was not inside. It was the same apartment I woke up in what felt like a day ago, except now people crowded every square inch, chattering and laughing and dancing slowly to music I had now begun to dread. The same melody I heard all day poured from the walls, no radio or speaker in sight. "Jarrett, I want to go home," I told him, and he laughed like I just cracked a joke.
Good one. Hey, you guys hear that?
In response, the dense crowd ha-ha'd, every face pinched into slit-eyed pleasure. The crowd's attention turned directly on me, and I recognized each person. My childhood neighbors, college friends, old coworkers, and second cousins, Terry, Sylvia, Sherry, JT, Mrs. Sexton, Robbie, Amadou, Gil, and faces whose names I forgot. The alien and familiar collided in my head, and my hands shook and I cried tears that were part joy and part terror. I was so scared, I told the nodding, comforting faces, and a laugh broke out. They were here for me. Was it my birthday? I turned to Jarrett. Had he planned this? How did you do all this? I asked him.
Hey, we're having a good time.
He laughed. Someone handed him a solo cup of sloshing liquid. It dribbled phlegmy over the lid, reeking of incense. Was it you? You did this?
It's the right thing to do.
He grinned with a big gulp. Hearing another voice, seeing another face, and having them hear mine and see mine, I could barely keep it together. I started sobbing.
Hey, she's having fun.
He laughed to the others, who raised cups in a roar of cheer. I wouldn't go that far, I sputtered, and they raised their glasses again. I started laughing. I feel like I'm losing it. Again, they cheered in much the same way, like they rewound and played again. I turned to Jarrett and took his striped jacket collar between my hands. No, really, I thought I was going insane. But he just laughed and raised his cup with a splash. Listen to me! And more cheers. Listen to me! My 4th grade teacher, chatting in the corner with my old saxophone instructor and my first boss at the Chick-fil-A, began singing along to the melody that emanated from the walls. Their voices carried and multiplied until a crowd sang the wordless refrain. I left the apartment. It was night now, though it had been morning when I entered. I ran until I was out of the building, off the block, streets away. I ran until the music stopped. I did not remember having my phone, but it was in my pocket. I removed it with purpose. I called home. Please pick up, I begged. Pick up! 4 rings, and then someone answered. I collapsed to my ass there on the sidewalk the moment I heard my dad's voice.
Honey?
Then he spoke off the receiver.
Dang it, Madge, shut that dog up. Sweetie, it's awful late. Is everything okay?
It all poured out of me. I could have been 6 years old. Daddy, you have to come get me. I don't know where I am, and I'm scared. I choked on my tears, fought to say the words. I'm scared, Dad. I'm not right. Something's wrong with me, Dad. I can't think right, and no one will listen to me.
Don't worry, honey,
my father said.
Isn't that right?
Yes,
my mother's voice joined.
You don't have to worry.
Will you come get me?
Of course, honey,
Dad said.
We'll leave soon.
No, you have to come right now, I cried. Right now, please, please. God, I was losing my mind. They told me they loved me and hung up. I felt relief until I realized, how would they find me? I called back. After 4 rings, my father picked up.
Honey? Dang it, Madge, shut that dog up. Sweetie, it's awful late. Is everything okay?
I heard my own breath sputter and catch in the receiver. I didn't speak a word, but this didn't matter.
Don't worry, honey,
my father responded to nothing.
Isn't that right?
Yes,
my mother's voice joined.
You don't have to worry.
The music caught up then. Like it played from a speaker inside my own head, it filled every corner of my thoughts, overpowered every word I tried to scream. Listen, I need help. You have to help me. Help me. Why won't you help me? Help! Help me! Help me! Help! Then the music grew, overpowered. It roared over the sound of every breath I gasped, drowned every word. I collapsed and all the air left me. The song played, stripped the world away in lurid revolutions. The lights went black, and it no longer mattered if I had eyes or not. The chill autumn wind went still, and I no longer felt the ground beneath my crumpled body. The song tightened and accelerated, a ravaging torrent at my body, consuming me bit by eroded bit. I felt my hands up each opposite arm, but there was nothing to hold. No coat, no pashmina, no flesh, I kicked my legs, but there was nothing to kick. I breathed without lungs, becoming the unnatural rhythm, until there was nothing to breathe. The song consumed me, until I was nothing but the song. And it played.
This story must be told.